Watch how the third quarter goes down. At least they called this one. Asia Wilson creams Lexie Hull like she did 5 times in game 1. Peggy Hammock get 15 calls in a row and one goes another way and she starts screaming and crying. Asia Wilson doesn't like Lexie Hull. She's always pushing her, but that's an illegal screen, and then Lexie Hull gets called for a foul.
The Indiana Fever saw Game 2 slip away not because they were outplayed, but because the referees practically gift-wrapped it for the Las Vegas Aces. 41 fouls, 6 of them in a single quarter, bodies hitting the floor, and chaos parading as defense. Meanwhile, Aya Wilson was celebrated for her stat line, while Lexie Hull fought through a back injury she suffered in Game 1. This wasn't basketball, it was madness. Yet somehow, the Fever still found a way to battle back. Now the question is, what happens when the series shifts back to Indiana? Show your support by commenting. Let's go, Lexie. Let's go.
It feels like a physical game every game. Feels like it's been a physical season. But yes, I think, I feel like I've been on the ground a little bit more this series so far. But we just keep getting back up, so that's all you can really say.
How did Indiana walk into Las Vegas, face the 2-time defending champs, deal with whistles tilted the wrong way, and still walk out with a double-digit win? Game 1 wasn't just a victory, it was a statement to the entire league. The Fever entered with a calm discipline rarely seen in such a young squad. And right from the start, Kelsey Mitchell erased all doubts, exploding for a playoff career-high 34 points. Every time Vegas tried to press, Indiana answered not with flashy moves, but with control, refusing to let the tempo slip from their grasp.
Take that! Hell yeah! Hell yeah! That's one! That's one! That's one! They ain't song and dance to me, man. I'm just grateful, man. I love basketball. I love playing with my team, so let's take what we can get.
And then came the so-called trump card Aya Wilson, the MVP. Instead of dominating, she endured a nightmare shooting night. Just 6 makes on 22 attempts. 6. Indiana's defense smothered her, contesting every look, shutting down the paint, and making her grind for every single bucket. That was the real story, one team executing with surgical precision and discipline, while the powerhouse champions couldn't find a rhythm on their own floor.
Wilson, look at that foul they called for. Yeah, saved her. That's some bullcrap. I love Aaliyah Boston. Great job today playing defense. Look at that. Another foul. Bailed out by the refs. I get pissed off. This is the worst one. They call this a jump ball. How is that a jump ball? Nobody even had possession. Aaliyah Boston, that's anything is over the back. Not a jump ball.
What made the loss sting even more for Vegas was the context on their home floor, with the whistle leaning their way and national coverage already predicting an easy series. Instead, the Fever stood tall and walked out with a 16-point blowout. Fans quickly spotted the cracks. The foul count felt suspicious, even in victory. But the sheer magnitude of Indiana's win drowned out the complaints. Still, that undercurrent of bias lingered. It wasn't erased, just overshadowed by the Fever's dominance.
Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces lose Game 1 on their home court to the Indiana Fever, 89-73. The Indiana Fever were in control of this game from start to finish.
That embarrassment lit a fire under the Aces. A 6-point loss wasn't something they could brush off, and that's why they stormed into Game 2 determined to flip the script. The question wasn't if Vegas would respond, it was how far they'd go. But at what cost did they choose to fight back? Was Game 2 even basketball, or just a brawl disguised as playoff intensity? From the opening minutes, it was clear the Aces had no interest in playing clean.
WNBA, you cannot blindside somebody and set a screen on them without enough time for letting the player being screened react. And then look at this. This one, their arms lock up, but you gotta let go at some point. Like, you can't bring the person closer to you and just stay locked in Well, the offensive player is trying to get the rebound, but we know A'ja Wilson only receives fouls.
Vegas came out throwing arms, with bodies colliding on nearly every possession, and the officials never took control. What should have been a showcase of two elite teams turned into a foul fest, with 41 whistles slicing through the game. 6 of them came in the third quarter alone, a stretch where Indiana had no chance to find rhythm. Every spark of momentum was chopped to pieces by stoppages that always seemed to tilt one way.
Steph, why don't you think you were able to find any flow? And when that was the case, what are you trying to do to jumpstart things, maybe on the defense?
Well, it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor. And that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively. We didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm, it's about timing, it's about spacing. We allowed them to do that, and they kept us from it.
The physicality wasn't incidental, it was the storyline. Players were shoved cutting through the lane, defenders relied on forearms instead of footwork, and more than once someone hit the floor hard. What stood out wasn't just the sheer number of fouls, but how they shattered the Fever's rhythm. This is a team that thrives on flow running, sharing the ball, and dictating tempo. Instead, they were dragged into a wrestling match they never signed up for. While Vegas piled up free throws, Indiana was stuck grinding through choppy half-court sets, the part of the game least true to their identity.
Yeah, Lexie, obviously you were a late add to the injury report today. Just how are you feeling this morning with your back, and what do you have to do to be able to play?
I mean, I'm feeling sore still, but I think just a lot of treatment, trying to get, our bodies as ready as we can be. Part of playoffs, I think, for everyone is it's the end of the season. Everyone's a little fatigued, everyone's a little sore. So just trying to go out there and do the best I can. A lot of treatment with our trainers. I'm really thankful for them to spend a lot of time with me today, a lot of time with me yesterday, getting me ready for tonight.
Lexie Hull shouldn't have even been on the court. After injuring her back in Game 1, she was listed as a game-time decision. Most players would sit, recover, and wait for the series to shift home. Instead, she strapped up, hit the floor, and immediately became a target of Vegas's rough play. Contact after contact, bump after bump, she hit the hardwood more than once. And yet, in the middle of all that, Hull stepped to the arc and buried 5 three-pointers, tying a Fever playoff record. It wasn't clean. It wasn't pretty. It was defiance. After the game, she admitted, "I'm still sore, but with treatment we're just trying to get our bodies as ready as we can be. We're pushing through." That's not a highlight reel soundbite, that's a player acknowledging the punishment and refusing to fold.
This is what happened. They cut it to 8 and they get 4 fouls in a row. That was not a foul. That was not a foul. This is crazy. 4 consecutive fouls. So from 8, it goes to 13 really quick, and the rest was history. It looks like Howard got hit in the arm by 2 players. They don't call a foul. It was a shot clock. But the rest of the game were just a whole bunch of fouls being called, people flying.
Meanwhile, the national conversation barely mentioned Hull's grit or the Fever's fight to keep their season alive. Instead, it spotlighted A'ja Wilson's stat line. 25 points, 9 rebounds, 5 steals, 2 blocks. Those were the numbers repeated everywhere. What got ignored was how she piled them up, bulldozing her way through the paint, knocking players to the floor, and cashing in on whistles Indiana never seemed to get. Fans saw it for what it was, but the headlines painted her night as dominant. Dominant isn't the same as fair, especially when half the opposing starters are limping off the court.
I mean, it's how you look at it. It looks, honestly, by some of the fouls and the way it was going, it looks like we were almost too physical, but yet at the same time, I feel like we have to be able to get that on the other end. I think, sometimes when you just look at the game as a whole, when you look at the way that it works, sometimes you manipulate it to different ways and you have smaller matchups. So, I mean, I just don't think it's really possible all the time for some of those smaller matchups to really do such a clean job of that. But hey, I'm here to hoop, so none of my business.
Aaliyah Boston lived that reality possession after possession. She finished with 10 points and 13 rebounds, but it felt like every single one came with a shot to the ribs or a shove to the back. Paint touches that should have been free throws turned into no calls. People forget Boston is only in her third season, yet she carries herself like a veteran. Against the Aces, she wasn't given an inch. And instead of complaining, she battled for every board. Her box score looked steady, but in truth, it was survival basketball just to put those numbers up.
Kept her out of that space as much as she would have wanted to. She did end up with nice returns. 7-0. Aces run has been stopped. Sims.
And while the spotlight stayed on the star names, it was Odyssey Sims who gave Indiana a chance to breathe. She scraped together 8 points while constantly dribbling through double teams, absorbing hacks to the arms, and watching the whistle kill any rhythm she built. Possession after possession, Sims turned broken plays into buckets only to see the next trip erased by another stoppage. You could see the frustration in her face, but she never slowed down. Every push Vegas delivered, Sims answered with points.
Purcell Young. Sims over. Asia Wilson, she had to put some extra arc on.
The story of Game 2 wasn't that Indiana failed, it's that they weren't allowed to play their game. The grit was there. Hull's threes, Boston's boards, Sims's drives. But every surge was crushed by a whistle or a shove. The Aces didn't expose flaws in strategy. They leaned on foul-heavy chaos and rode it to victory. So, if you're asking how the Fever lost, the answer isn't who played better. Without the interruptions, Indiana's poise and shooting could have swung the outcome. The real question is this: if Las Vegas needed help from both the whistle and brute force, what actually changed in their tactics to silence Kelsey Mitchell? Because that was the other half of Game 2. In the opener, Mitchell torched Vegas for 34, scoring off the catch, off the dribble, attacking the rim at will. But in Game 2, she was smothered. Her total plummeted to 3. And it wasn't because she forgot how to score. The Aces came in with one mission: suffocate her until there was no space left to operate.
Step on that note with Kelsey just having a little bit of a, they were able to contain her a little bit more. How did you feel like they were able to be successful in that regard?
I mean, the physicality won. She's like a little pinball. I know that the museum's right down the street, so sometimes I feel like she's getting pinged around everywhere.
They threw extra bodies at her, sometimes face-guarding even when she didn't have the ball. Every cut left a bruise, every screen met with an aggressive hedge. That shift changed the Fever's entire rhythm. Instead of Mitchell dictating pace and stretching the defense, Vegas forced the ball into other hands. Double teams funneled her passes into crowded lanes, and by the time she finally broke free for a clean look, it was usually late in the shot clock. On film, it looks like a smart, disciplined adjustment, but in real time, it felt like suffocation.
Physicality is out of control, that's for sure. I mean, you can bump and grab a wide receiver in the NFL for those first 5 yards, but you can do it in the W for the whole half court. You put 2 hands on somebody like that, it should be an automatic foul. They have the freedom of movement. Freedom of movement. There's no freedom. And I'm not saying that we're not fouling too. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's out of control.
Ironically, even Becky Hammon complained afterward about the physical nature of the matchup. Think about that: the Aces had just benefited all night from a whistle that stopped and started the game in their favor, yet their own coach wasn't happy with how rough it got. That detail matters, because it proves the result didn't come down solely to tactics. It was shaped just as much by chaotic officiating. Yes, Vegas's pressure on Mitchell worked. But the endless stoppages made it impossible to fairly measure how effective those adjustments truly were. Meanwhile, Aaliyah Boston kept battling 10 points, 13 rebounds another night, where she looked less like a center working the post and more like a linebacker crashing bodies. Still, Vegas found a clever wrinkle. They stretched the floor, pulled her out of position, and created mismatches that let Aya Wilson and Jackie Young attack without a true counter on the help side.
Now the starting point guard, and here's Hull, an early test. Great sign because her shooting has been off. Yes. Mitchell. Short. Hull with another offensive rebound, turn, shoot, scores. 2 of their last 3. Hull again, yes. Oh!
And then there was Lexie Hull. The Aces may have erased Mitchell for one night, but they couldn't erase her. Just a game removed from injuring her back, cleared only as a game-time decision, Hull didn't just suit up, she lit it up. 5 threes, tying the Fever's playoff record. That's not luck. That's grit. That's mental toughness. Proof that Indiana refuses to quit, no matter how undermanned they are.
Run still. Lexie Hull has scored the last 6 points for Indiana with a couple of threes. Mitchell, good look. And she got it. Kelsey Mitchell in that first half had 9 points, but was just 1 of 5 from 3-point range. It was Lexie Hull doing the damage from 3, and now she's doing a Kelsey Mitchell imitation of the night. Sims gets the roll.
So, yes, Las Vegas made their adjustments. They executed their plan, leaned on the whistle, and walked away with the win. But now the board flips. The next battle won't be in Vegas, it'll be in Indianapolis. And there, the Aces won't just face Mitchell, Boston, and Hull. They'll face 7,000 fans who smell blood and plan to be louder than any whistle. What happens when a team that's been roughed up, whistled out of rhythm, and nearly battered off the floor finally gets to walk back into their own house? That's what the Indiana Fever are about to discover as the series shifts to Gainbridge Fieldhouse. After 2 bruising nights in Las Vegas, where the crowd and the officiating tilted toward the champs, the dynamic flips. Now, every bucket from Caitlin Clark or Kelsey Mitchell won't be drowned out. It'll be amplified by thousands of voices, shaking the building.
Just ask you to look forward to this series going to your home court in Indianapolis. How much is that really going to make a difference in this series, and how much does it mean to you guys to have that home court advantage?
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Our fans, they show up and they show out, and so for us just using that, our own energy, but also using the energy in the crowd, I think it's going to be really great for us.
Gainbridge has already proven it's more than just a home court. This season alone, we've seen opponents crumble in the second half as the noise kept building. The same momentum swings that disappeared in Vegas come alive in Indy. At Gainbridge, there are no dead moments. The crowd stays loud through runs, through fouls, through missed calls. Vegas may have leaned on their home energy in Game 2, but now it's Indiana's turn. Even Becky Hammon admitted, "Our experience, there's not been great this season." When a championship coach says that, it matters. Because officiating bias can't hide in silence, not when 7,000 fans are reacting in real time. Refs won't miss the contact on Boston's post-ups when the roar erupts at every bump. They won't overlook the body checks on the perimeter when the crowd demands accountability. That's the underrated part of home court. You don't just get the rims and the comfort. You get constant, unrelenting pressure on every decision from the people watching closest.
We're excited. I know the last time it was the first playoff game in a really long time, so to be able to have 2 more for our fans that have been there with us all season, I'm really excited for that, and we definitely do feed off of their energy, so we're really looking forward to it.
For the Fever, that's fuel. Lexie Hull toughed out back pain in Vegas, drilling 5 threes despite getting hacked and knocked around. Aaliyah Boston battled through constant contact, piling up rebounds while taking more punishment than whistles reflected. Kelsey Mitchell was locked down after her Game 1 explosion, but you can feel it, the frustration is about to turn into fire at home. This is where battle scars stop weighing players down and start becoming energy. We've seen it before earlier this year. Indiana trailed by double digits at Gainbridge, only to storm back once the crowd made the arena suffocating for opponents. That same shift is why Games 3 and 4 aren't just playoff stops. They're the moment the Fever turn pain into power, and the Aces step into a building where every mistake gets magnified and every Fever run feels unstoppable. Vegas may have leaned on whistles and bruises to steal Game 2, but Indiana's spirit never cracked. And what happened in Las Vegas won't carry the same weight in Indianapolis. Home court is now the Fever's weapon, loud, fearless, and impossible to ignore. Boston and Hull both admitted after the loss that they couldn't wait to get back in front of their fans. Hull said it best, "Our fans, they show up and they show out." If Indiana dismantled Vegas once on the road and still fought through chaos in Game 2, imagine what's coming next with Gainbridge packed and ready. Show your support for the Fever by commenting, Let's go, Lexie. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on screen, and we'll see you in the next one.